Hello Virgo, and welcome to your in-depth horoscope and astrology forecast for October. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to give you an overview of what to expect in terms of the broad themes, but then I will dive deep and examine in forensic detail all the key dates and influences particularly critical to your sign. And of course, you're governed by Mercury, and Mercury is with you as this month begins, but is in a retrograde. Now that's going to unravel on the 2nd, but for the first week of this month, Mercury gets caught up in the rather distorting angle between Mars and Neptune. Neptune in your sector of relating. So professional relationships may need some care this month, but your financial situation really looks promising as the Sun aligns with Venus, the planet of money, right through the spine of this month, but particularly through to the 23rd in the sign of Libra. And on the 22nd, that influence becomes exact. Also, we have a solar eclipse on the 25th, where Venus is still very influential, but that's going to impact on your thinking, your immediate discussions, and even belief systems over the next 6 months, but could bring some really exciting new people into your orbit during that time. Also, Jupiter, the planet of growth, is going to be moving back into your sector of relating on the 28th. So lots of exciting things to share with you, Virgo. But if you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your life. Plus, with my special package, your year 2023 personal forecast, the rest of this year 3, and also 30% off. Please see the link beneath this video. Finally, if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. But if you've already done so, thank you so much for your ongoing support. So Virgo, my sense is that a plan that you've been thinking about has gone through some moments of progress and then felt like it has stalled, and then perhaps you've rethought it. And as you come out of the retrograde on the 2nd, I think you will start to see slowly but surely a little bit more traction with this plan. And by the 10th, it can really start to move forwards. But even more excitingly, by the 29th, you're going to see things really accelerate at a much more pleasing speed. So I feel that if there has been some frustration or delay, just go with it. There's probably a wider reason, even if it may not have felt like it at the time, why this didn't quite flow as you'd first hoped. You may have become a lot more informed as well about your options during that whole period. Now, of course, because Mars is in a very powerful part of your horoscope, the sign of Gemini, which for you is very much about success, ambition and assertion, and Mars gives you great thrust, the fact that it is being compromised this month by Neptune in your sector of relating suggests that something that you want to go for that's very important to you, there may be someone closer to you who it feels, even if it's not meant in any kind of a malicious way, that that person is just holding you back a little bit, or casting a few doubts. Maybe their lack of enthusiasm is actually going to really hit home this month. And I think this can be, even in the first week of this month, a potential for you to feel a bit dispirited, and this could reach a peak on the 12th when Mars and Neptune are exactly square. But keep the faith, because Venus is going to be hugely influential this month. And to begin with, for the first 3 weeks, it's going to be embracing its more Taurian rulership energy. So it's going to be seeing you thinking about money, and it's going to be seeing you think about the good things in life. whether it's calorific goodies or very natural things, or it is to do with more sensual pleasures. But certainly money in these times that we're living in is something that everybody's needing to think about because of the cost of living crisis. But the full moon, which occurs on the 9th, is going to give you a real opportunity to do some big changes, but also to really set your intentions for actually dealing with the reality of your particular situation. And Mars is going to be forging a very dynamic link to Venus, the Sun, and in turn they're forging a very dynamic link to Saturn, which in turn forges a great link to Mars. So this ground air trine can be particularly good for you when it comes to marshalling your resources and using the air energy of these positions to think and articulate your plans, but have a very earthy approach. So think about the bottom line. So we've got a real mixture there of, if you like, the swords and the pentacles in tarot, but are working to your advantage if you can really toggle and pivot towards how you can make the most of the resources you've got. Because by the 22nd, the Sun and Venus come into an exact conjunction, and some kind of improvement in your financial situation could really delight you. Now, there is going to be a potential challenge to this on the 19th, because Pluto in your sector of love, romance and passion, and what we really want to manifest in our lives in terms of our highest hopes, the 5th house, that is going to be in a sharp right angle with the Sun and Venus. So at that point, there may be an opportunity. If you're single, it could be someone extremely alluring that captures your imagination, or it could be a financial plan or an offer of some kind. And you just need to be conscious that Pluto can create leverage. And leverage on Venus is usually presented in some kind of seductive way. So something that appears to be a really good opportunity, or someone who appears to be very, very alluring. There could be some catches. So just watch out for the politics. But with Pluto going direct this month on the 8th, after a retrograde which began on the 29th of April, if you have been doing a lot of soul searching around your romantic situation, or around if you're actually seeing the things occur in your life that give you a real sense of pleasure, then I think that going forwards is generally going to be helpful. Also, week 2 following on from that full moon, the Sun's in a very stable link with Saturn. So the Sun is helping you to think realistically about how you can work with your resources, and Saturn is helping you to think in a very scrutinizing way, something you have a natural gift for, so you can really analyze things in a very precise and meticulous way, but really sweat your assets in a very efficient way too. Now, the 10th sees your ruler, Mercury, move back into your second solar house. It was there between the 26th of August, 23rd of September, but as I mentioned before, something that may have stalled can now start to gain even more traction. But that square between Mars and Neptune, which dominates this month and also November and part of March next year, that's exact on the 12th. So if there is some politics between you and perhaps someone in your workplace, a line manager, or it's a more personal relationship, or with a parent, where the distortion of Neptune means that someone's not being very clear about what they want from a relationship, but Mars could make you more imposing of your will, but it's important that you do have your facts clear before you press too hard. Now on the 23rd, Saturn goes direct, and if you have been feeling, since the 4th of June, if you have been feeling a little bit low on energy, if you have felt your vitality has not quite had that spark, if you felt that little things have got on top of you a little bit, if there has been any sense of overwhelm, it wouldn't be an entire surprise. There may have even been extra responsibilities or obligations in your world, perhaps to do with your work. But on the 23rd too, Venus and the Sun make their way into the sign of Scorpio. And that's very good for you, because if you think about it, you're an earth sign, and the bottom of every riverbed is a base and a riverbed, and water flows along that. So your earth conducts water very well. But for you also, the movement of the Sun and Venus into Scorpio is going to give you a greater persuasiveness, but also a greater desire to engage with the beliefs that are important to you, but also to have, some more interactive communication with people immediately around you. But of course, Saturn going forwards at the same time is also going to see you perhaps a little less tense, and that can also help this process. But on the 25th, the solar eclipse which occurs in Scorpio really suggests over the next 6 months that someone is going to be coming into your world who just adds some kind of sparkle, excitement, some luster. If you're single, this is extremely exciting, because this could be someone you encounter just in a very ordinary situation, but immediately you're just having a conversation that's full of mischief and fun, but also it could be someone whose ideas mesh very well with yours. If you have thought of getting a new mode of transport, I think it's very likely that you will snaffle yourself that addition in the following 6 months. Now on the 28th, as I mentioned before, Jupiter, although it's in a retrograde, it does reverse back into your sector of relating. It's going to go direct on the 23rd of November, so things may be a bit unclear in terms of your relationship situation through till then, but part of that is just the energy of Neptune. It's just such an incredibly powerful influence, because Neptune dissolves, but it also distorts. And Mars, of course, is about thrust. And of course, at the start of this month, Neptune's also in an opposition with your ruler, Mercury. So by the end of this month, as Jupiter rewinds into your opposite sign, it doesn't necessarily mean that suddenly there's going to be instant fortune around relationships, but I think it brings its philosophical vibe to bear in a very profound and positive way to the more dreamy, drifty, and sometimes hard to understand energies of Neptune. Neptune's a very important influence because it's very much about our psychic abilities. But Jupiter brings a bit more of a philosophy in, which I think can be very important despite the retrograde. Now on the 29th, Mercury moves into Scorpio, which of course is where Mercury deep dives and really investigates, but it's also an area where for you, house 3, things just pick up, and what you say is likely to be what you mean. But just before that, Mercury is going to go through quite a tense link with Pluto, so just be aware from the 25th to the 29th there could be some real tensions around your situation. But on the 30th, Mars goes into a retrograde, and that lasts through to 12th of January next year. Mars is pushing you, really, to be honest, Virgo, to raise your expectations when it comes to your abilities and how you can punch through and really share your talents to a wider audience, raise your profile, achieve more acclaim. But I think Mars going retrograde from this point through to January is going to see you thinking very carefully about what you do for a living, or how people respect you, or otherwise. It could be your involvement in local committees or a voluntary situation that Mars is pushing you to take more of a lead. But I think the retrograde just sees you a bit more thoughtful, and of course it will still be impacted by Neptune right through November too. So this month begins with real opportunities to work hard to shift around your resources and sweat your assets, But later in the month, some wonderful opportunities to mix and mingle and have some really sparkling conversations.